Walking has always been one of the ways in which I pray, often when I'm walking the dog. There is something about the physicality of movement, about engaging the body, that I find helpful. Just the sense of putting one foot in front of the other. Some of you may have watched Victoria speak last week, and I smiled when she talked about finding it hard to sit in church, as I too can still hear my mother exclaim, "Fiona, sit still," as I try to sit on our very uncomfortable church pews. And over the past 20 years or so, I have been using labyrinths to help myself and others pray. It was a great joy for me to discover that I could walk and pray at the same time. And so by following this very simple single path into the centre and back out again, I discovered a sense of inner stillness as I walked. As I said, a labyrinth is not a maze, it's just one path that you follow into the centre and the same path that you follow back out again. And it twists and turns, kind of mirrors the twists and turns of our own lives. And obviously I'm walking this by myself, but if I was walking it with others, I might be thinking about where I am in relationship to where they are on the path, and that might somehow be a metaphor for my life journey. Am I walking in the same direction as others? Am I walking by myself when everybody else is walking in a different direction, in a different place? Am I walking in tune and in step with others, or am I not? This week we start Holy Week, accompanying Jesus and his disciples as they make their pilgrimage walk to Jerusalem. And as we follow them and journey with them during this week, we too may ask the question, what does it mean for us to follow Jesus? What does it mean for us to journey on a spiritual path? What is it about this sense of walking, journeying, accompanying, conversation, encounter, movement? How do all of these physical and embodied ways help us to discover God and something about ourselves? John Howard Norman is a retired Methodist minister living near me in the north-east of England, and he and I, along with others from our local Methodist district, have been walking the pilgrimage path of the Northern Saints, various routes that all end up in Durham Cathedral. Now, John has also walked the Camino de Santiago, the Way of St. James, and I had a conversation with John about walking and about prayer and about pilgrimage and how walking helps him to pray.
For me, the kind of one of the central characteristics of pilgrimage is the way in which the pilgrimage, the outer journey of pilgrimage, enables that inner journey, which is also pilgrimage. And that's again, from a personal perspective, but I guess others would say this, that inner journey ultimately is about a journey of the heart, your heart and God's heart, and we journey within into the heart of God. And I don't claim ever to have got there or made it, but it's an ongoing journey, and to be accompanied on that journey, to be encouraged on that journey is for me such a blessing, and it's why we journey together, both as fellow pilgrims, or we might call it as a church. For me, what's really important is intention, um, the heart's intention. Why do you want or need, in a sense, to make that journey? What is your purpose? Why is that journey important? And what are you seeking? What are you looking for on that journey? You need time to be on your own, time for to enter into that inner space, to go down into the heart, and but also time to engage with others. And I mean, I remember on the Camino, that was very much part of the rhythm of the day. The early part of the day was invariably spent on your own, walking, from early morning into the sort of mid-morning. And as you entered mid-morning, people would kind of come together a little, and people would be walking in twos, threes, whatever, and begin to chat. And in those exchanges, people told their stories. And of course, storytelling, we need to go back to Chaucer and further back to know that, storytelling has been central, also central to pilgrimage. All these things which are part of making that journey, telling your story, listening to the stories of others, and how all that just comes together in your awareness, and how that opens you up, how listening to the story of another again opens up your heart and opens you up to the world, to people in all their searching in their longings, and how we can develop empathy and compassion for others, offer hospitality to others as they show compassion and hospitality to us. One of the other experiences, I think, of that pilgrimage for me was the way in which it was almost as if sort of layers were coming away. We lay things down, don't we, over the years. And as I walked, the further I walked, I found myself remembering things from my youth and indeed from early childhood with such clarity. And there was some really good things in there, but there was also some quite difficult stuff. And I think because of our humanity, it's inevitable that we will. I mean, St. John of the Cross shows us that, in his writings, the dark night of the soul, the way in which there is a sense, entering into the heart of God, yes, but actually, what if our experience is actually not the presence of God within that, but the absence of God, or the unknowingness of God, and that's for me as much as part of the journey as as the mountaintop. I'm not someone who would say, well, that space is sacred, that space is secular. I think from my understanding of God, the world, wherever we step, we are treading on holy ground. So sacred space, for me, there is something, I think, as I walked the Camino, the awareness that I was walking in the footsteps of pilgrims that had walked that journey, that pilgrimage, for over 1,000 years. There was significance in that. This wasn't just some kind of random journey. It was a journey I had an intention, but also all those other pilgrims, both present, past, and indeed future, had an intention in walking that space, in walking that path, and their prayers, in a way I cannot begin to explain, very, very deep, very meaningful in that my prayers joining with their prayers. And something sacred emerging from that. Getting into that daily rhythm is so important in that it enables you to develop a rhythm which sometimes we find very, very difficult in our everyday lives. And I think that points to something else, which is in terms of integrating the experience, which is about coming back and in a sense trying to enable some of those practices, the practice of pilgrimage into everyday life, because the pilgrimage doesn't end when you arrive in Santiago de Compostela or whatever the destination might be. That's just the beginning. So silence isn't something that I find naturally easy, because I want to fidget. I want to distract myself. But if I'm walking, in a sense, my mind is set free within that activity, within the rhythm of that activity, simply to focus on the present moment. And it's that awareness of the present moment where we become still, and actually where we meet God, I think.
If you live in the UK, this week, indeed this Friday, there is a new pilgrimage series on BBC Two, as another group of celebrities walk a pilgrim path, which this year sees them walk from Donegal to Iona, in celebration of the birth of St Columba 1500 years ago. Now, I'm quite intrigued by celebrities walking because, of course, they're not all people of faith. But I have watched the other series and have been quite deeply moved by some of their experiences. I'm intrigued, though, by this interest in spiritual journeying. Is this just another celebrity reality TV programme? Or is there something deeper going on here? I asked John about this. So let's hear his thoughts, and I wonder if there is something here that might help our prayer challenge this week.
I think people are searching. People are asking big questions. People are looking for meaning. And I think the problem for the church is they're not particularly looking for it in organised religion, but do nevertheless have a deep sense of the spiritual. And pilgrimage offers that. And it offers the opportunity to enter into it with others. So there are parallels with the church, and indeed pilgrimage is wrapped up in the church. And it's something I think we really do have to offer to the world and to society in general. But it is not seen as, I guess, something that you are tied into. You're not tied into anything, apart from getting up in the morning, walking, going to bed at night, getting up the next day, walking. There isn't that sense that, well, this is a commitment. It is about very much about a spiritual journey. And I know people who have gone on pilgrimage not for they wouldn't say for spiritual reasons. Perhaps they love of walking, or there's a particular life-changing decision that they want to make, and they're not quite sure which way to go. They're standing at the crossroads, not knowing quite which way to go. But having walked and having reached the end of that pilgrimage, have been profoundly affected in a way which actually they would describe as spiritual. So yeah, I'm all for just saying, well, let's go with it. And if you're a celebrity, or if you're whoever you are, for goodness sake, if you feel if you feel that that inner movement, that draw to just to go, just to start walking, then on your pilgrimage, then for goodness sake, why not?
So I guess one of our questions might be, what is that inner draw? What is that inner movement for you? How might this be speaking to you this week? So you might like to pray around any of these themes of journeying, movement, accompanying people on their journey, who has accompanied you, who has shaped your journey, the highs and lows of that journey, and a sense of us being people on the move. You may also like to read the Gospel passages for this Holy Week and perhaps use any of the prayer experiences we have been exploring over the past 6 weeks. Have a conversation with Jesus during Holy Week using one of the Take Time meditations. How might you use art or colour or texture to pray? How does the current news situation speak to you? What music might you listen to or play during Holy Week? How might the digital, a film or a podcast help you to journey with Jesus this week? So the invitation, as always, is just to give it a go. Give these ways of praying a go and see how God is speaking to you this week.